And now, a word from our partners.
Well, things are different these days, but we're figuring it out. We're doing school online now, learning a lot. Come in. Finding cool stuff to watch. Dad's got some new workout buddies. And I still get to spend time with you.
Okay, now we're gonna put the sugar.
And now, for the state of remote work in 2021 and beyond, please welcome Álvaro Celis, High-Tech Board Member and Vice President, Worldwide Devices and Consumer Channel Sales, Microsoft.
Hello, familia. Hope you are having a great conference today. It's such an uplifting and warm check-in, and it's an honor to be here today with Vanessa to have a chat about the state of remote work. Vanessa, welcome.
Thanks, Alvaro. It's great to be here with the High-Tech family. My name is Vanessa Burnaby. I am the Vice President of Talent Acquisition for Product and Technology at Workday, and very privileged to be here with all of you. Alvaro?
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. Well, you know, as our announcer kindly introduced me, my name is Álvaro Celis, and I'm at Microsoft. I'm Venezuelan. I have the honor to be part of the High-Tech Board of Directors, and I'm also at Microsoft run our device business at the global level. So it's an exciting time to be talking about remote work. Hey, Vanessa, let's kick it off. And I imagine this is such a hot topic for everyone, right? What we're experiencing every day, working from home and working remotely. And one question that I thought will be great for us to tackle at the beginning is how these shifts are being embraced. I mean, how companies are reacting, how people are reacting to it. What have you seen?
Yeah, I think it's such a good question. I think there is still a big question that will remain around how we think about this in the future. Is the company going to dictate the way that we work based on what they want for the business? Or is the employee going to really dictate and say, no, this is the way that I want to work? I will say from what we have experienced in the last year, what we know now, companies are really trying to provide as many mechanisms to support employees in their work from home, with their families as well. When we think about all of the collaboration and tools that we are offering our employees. And I think, you know, moving forward as companies are starting to talk about moving back into offices, we're really going to have to focus on enabling our people leaders, on helping them think about the moments that matter for in-person collaboration and how we move away from, you know, FaceTime equaling performance, because there are still so many unknowns that people leaders are going to have to figure out. And if companies don't really put the focus on the enablement there, the people leaders will ultimately become this invisible hand that will impact the company's culture moving forward. How are you and your teams thinking about this?
Yeah, no, I think that you're spot on. I think that we still have many questions ahead. We recently did, we at Microsoft had the privilege to have interactions with millions of users and companies around the world. And, you know, recently we did some surveys to try to understand the mindset and how the world to come is shaping. And even though today we think about, hey, 2020 was a year where the work moved to the home, actually what happened is that all the work moved into the cloud, right? And everything now is happening digitally. So when talking to our customers, what we have seen is like 80% of the managers expect that moving forward, there will be more flexibility. There will be a different setup, and there will be more flexibility for employees. And actually 70% of the employees are actually expecting that to be the new norm, right? So I think that right now we have done a fun work as an industry, as a society, to adjust to this reality with the pandemic. But somehow the playing field has been leveled because most of us are remote. There's a majority remote. And it's going to be extremely interesting and somehow messy transition to a new phase where there will be hybrid approaches, right? And that's the multi-billion-dollar question on how do we make that happen and what will be the new norm. The way we're thinking about it is kind of on three big levels or three buckets. One is, how do you enable the right employee experience first and foremost for people? How do they engage and connect? How do we keep working on their well-being? We know that this pandemic has revealed many aspects that become more relevant than ever for our people. And how do you enable them to be, keep growing and making an impact on their careers, on their aspirations, on their lives? In the other hand, you enable teams to really work and collaborate, because you still need aid, you need to debate, you need to create new products, serve your customers, keep the business running. And the last, not least important, is how do you do that in an environment that is highly distributed in a secure and trusted way, right? How do we enable that? And I think those three elements are the ones that we've been working, and we see conversations moving very rapidly on trying to define the new norm across our customer base.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I assume with your focus on the devices unit, how is Microsoft or your customers thinking about real estate and how they're going to incorporate devices into that return to hybrid or remote work?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think that has been one of the areas where we have been working the most intensively over the last the few months, actually, technology-wise, and creating the products, working with our partners to create the right portfolios and solutions, and also serving the customers. And look, when you look at the trends, what we believe is going on is facilities that are, physical spaces are becoming now digital workspaces. What used to be your corporate culture now becomes a digital culture. What used to be business travel, especially for sales and customer engagement, is becoming now digital sales. What used to be in-person events, seminars, engagements now are mostly digital engagement. Look at this experience we're having right now, right? Look, even at the personal level, what used to be a doctor visit now is telehealth. And that is redefining so deeply what is really possible to be doing remote. That is opening a whole myriad of conversations around how companies should redefine their layouts on with your question. And part of the work that we're doing, and again, we have an incredible amount of energy on this topic all over the world, is how do you retrofit what used to be the conference room? How do you retrofit what used to be the collaboration spaces to accommodate those virtual meetings where by definition you will have remote attendance? And there will be a mix. So you need to guarantee that the experiences that people will have in those synchronous collaboration moments are the right ones. So we're talking about multiple screens, being able to have technology that through AI and automation will help you with note-taking, will help you with recordings, will help you, if you cannot attend the meeting, come back and actually look the transcript of what happened, who said what are the action items, what did I miss if I couldn't be in person at the moment when that happened because I'm in the other part of the world, for example. And also technologies that will allow you to co-create and collaborate in room and remote in a seamless way. From simple things like, hey, how do you have a digital whiteboard where you can, go to the whiteboard and draw on the screen in the room, but also at the same time get the input and co-creation with people that are remote. And enabling that through digital means has been a big part of the work. And there's the pace of innovation on the devices to enable that, and the software and cloud technologies to do that in a secure, reliable way, protecting the information, encrypting the messaging, the communications, protecting the right information for the company as well, is a big part of the work that we're doing today.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I've also, like talking to Workday and some other customers, hearing around putting sensors within offices so that they really can get a sense of what their employees are doing, how they're really utilizing the space so that they can continue to evolve that space into what makes the most sense for the employees and how they want to work today. Is Microsoft doing any of that?
No, absolutely. We even have part of the technologies that we are including into the room experience will allow you to have not only the attendance, but how do you keep capacity to be sure that you can keep social distancing, because you need to be aware of the space that you have. Hands-free approach. So you can activate the meeting, you can activate some of that collaboration, either full on devices, so they don't need to interacting with shared spaces, physical devices or things that will be in the room used by multiple people, or even being able to activate things by voice and gestures, right? And having, actually, we just did some work that was fascinating with special mic arrays that will allow you to follow the presenter, no matter who he is, and recognizing who's talking and transcribing directly, so you can recognize people in there. And all those things are around how do you use technology, and again, AI, automation, security, with that collaboration and really empower human creativity. Because we know that the real force behind information is people, but we also know that more work doesn't mean more output. So what you need to do is enable the way of the interaction of people through the tools and technology in a way that augment human capacity and give them the flexibility to be productive and to be engaged and to be healthy in their own ways.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about with conference spaces and video conference. I think the one thing that we've all recognized over the last year is that online meetings have leveled the playing field for everybody, right? We're all equal boxes on the screen. And when we think about folks going back into the office, how do we maintain this neutral meeting space, the inclusive environment? And what I'm hearing from you with videos being able to follow people so that you can recognize the social cues from the speaker are really going to try to keep that a neutral place for folks.
No, absolutely. I mean, and one of the things that we believe is that you need to root very deeply on the human behavior of those interactions and understand what really will keep attention. And one of the things, for example, we just did, and you will see those innovations in technologies like we have with Microsoft Teams, on which we're trying to explore ways for when you're presenting, for example, you can put yourself as a presenter in front of the audience to have very visual cues. In the way you arrange the room, there will be a way for you to have visual contact with every member of the meeting on the screen, either you're in person or remote, so you can level the playing field, to your point. And also being able to understand that there's also digital fatigue going on these days, right? I mean, when you look at people on those boxes all the time, it's not the same. So how do you explore different ways to do human interaction so you can keep the engagement up? We came up with, for example, one pretty cool innovation was what we call the together mode, where you can switch. Instead of a grid, you put people in classroom sitting or stadium sitting, and that small change increases the level of awareness and the level of engagement and reduces fatigue in ways that were amazing. And all that is part of the learning and journey that we have, and other members of the industry are also in the same journey. Try to understand how do you acknowledge the importance of the human element, and you make the technology enable human factor on all these situations versus trying to rewire or accommodate humans to adapt to a technology. Look, we believe that three big trends that are going to be governing the future to come. Everything will go digital. Location has agnostic. You need to be able to level the playing field to your, but also we need to recognize that things will keep happening faster and faster because of that digitalization. So how do we make that more palatable and more friendly and more human enabled is going to be critical for the success of everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, when you look at on the human resource side, on the talent side, how are you thinking about it? How are you thinking on the employee retention experiences? I know that you're deeply into the talent acquisition, and there's a lot of work doing as well with your customer base on those fronts. So what are your insights? What have you seen?
Yeah, I think this year has been transformational for how people are thinking about work and life. I think folks have realized that they don't necessarily have to give up personal dreams for their careers. For example, I have a coworker, she's always had a dream of having a horse farm. And through COVID, she was able to make that happen. She moved. She's still close enough to an office that she can come in the future when needed. It's a different office than where she was based before, but she's now realized, I don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And I do think there has been this fundamental mindset shift for folks. And so, moving forward, how do we, I think talent right now is skittish. I think they're a little unsure of how they think about new opportunities when we don't know what the future of work looks like completely yet. Do I make a change today to a new company without fully understanding the culture there? Are they going to support the personal needs that I have as an employee there? And so we're seeing more and more offers get accepted and then declined before they join the company. And competition, I think, is more fierce than I have ever seen it in my 20 years of talent acquisition. There's so much pent-up demand from last year that every company is now investing in growing their workforce. And so I think the messaging that companies have is going to be critical around how are we going to continue to support you? As you said it, right? The velocity of work has just increased. It has crept into all facets of our life. And moving forward, we're really going to have to keep that top of mind in terms of how we support work. And so I know for us, when we think about opening our offices and going to a hybrid model, it's absolutely about providing that flexibility. I think the social connections will also be key for employees and their desire to want to go into the offices, however often that is. I think productivity, right? Having the right ergonomics, reliable internet, best-in-class VC capability, and then more than anything, I think well-being, right? We have fitness centers, on-site medical, healthy snacks, meditation. And I think this is the one area that we need to see the most innovation moving forward to support our workforce.
Yeah, no, I think that you're spot on. And I believe that all of us in the technology industry have such a opportunity and a responsibility to enable these new digital cultures that are going to come. And I think that's what I believe when we had the opportunity to have this fireside chat. I was so energized because I love for us to activate the whole familia, to be sure that we, in whatever part you work in the industry, that we work on those three elements about the people, the teams, and the infrastructure and security to really empower companies to have this digital culture, that we open up these opportunities for time, for new experiences. How do we carry the best of the learnings that we had in these times with what we used to have before? And what is that healthy middle that we need to create where we still have human interaction, we still treasure those moments where we can be with each other in a safe and constructive way, but at the same time, we remove the friction of physical location as a leading opportunity for you to have a great career, a great experience, be a successful employee. And I think that we have a unique position to help make that change for everyone.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I think companies right now, it's a balance of what do the employees need, how do we maintain our culture, and how do we continue to support the business success. And we've seen other companies we've seen all different approaches to this, right? Some are getting rid of their offices completely, which I don't think will work for every employee, right? If they're desperate to get back into the office and now they know they don't have a space to go be with their coworkers, even if it's, once a month, to other companies who are saying, we want all of our employees back in, and that won't necessarily work for everybody. And so I do think attrition is inevitable because everybody is in a different place of determining their priorities that they want for their future. I think we will see the rise of co-working spaces, right? As companies think about, okay, if we're not going to maintain large offices anymore, but we still want to have that social buzz, can we provide our employees these different locations in the cities where they've chosen maybe to move to or they want to work in? I know for Workday, we're going to focus more on like the hub and spoke approach and having smaller, 200-person offices. And then I know other customers are also opening up their spaces for their customers to come work, right? So they can still have that buzz and collaboration. And maybe it's their customers' employees that are coming in instead of their employees.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that healthy middle will be a journey by itself. And I think it's exciting times because I think that's where we can make the difference. Even when you think one of the considerations that we're also looking to complement your thoughts is the multi-generational workforce that we're going to have, right? And different generations will have different needs, different approaches, and we will need to find that culture that can include everyone, being sure that you don't leave any employee behind. You open the door and you create that extra level of inclusion, being purposefully inclusive, so you don't exclude anyone by mistake, will be fundamental in the corporate culture and digital cultures that we need to create in the future. And I know there's some questions coming from the audience. Let me make a quick comment on my side. You can do the same, and then we can open up for the Q&A. Look, personally, one of the things that I think that we gained through COVID is that actually the work experience become way more humane, way more candid. The other day I was having a meeting with a very senior executive from one of our partners, and the person is like, "Oh, we have this, virtual visit," and then they're like, "Well, I cannot turn on my video because I'm taking this call from a treadmill. I'm actually taking a walk while we're having this conversation because I need to exercise." And she was sharing the need for her to have this activity and at her own pace. And everyone on the call was actually not only grateful, but celebrating the fact that we could be so open. And we were reflecting a little bit as technology, members of the technology industry, how far have we come? I think 12 months ago, you were expecting someone to tell you they will not show up to a meeting and they're going to take the call without video from a treadmill, and you will be like offended, like, what's going on? You're taking this seriously. And now we're like, good for you. Thank you for being there. We'll make it work. No worries. And I think that level of empathy, that level of how do we embrace the needs of every person, but they still find a way to make it work and accommodate it, make us so much better as humans and create so much better experiences that I hope we can find a way to keep that discovery and connection in the new normal.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I think the fact that that was a senior leader, right, just helps others feel more comfortable because, we take our lead from the leaders in our companies. So it's great to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if you have any more thoughts, Vanessa, we can go to the Q&A. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so let me read the first question and then we'll take it from there. So for all of you in the audience, please feel free to submit your questions, and Vanessa and I will do our best to tell you what we think about it, depending on the case. So the first question is, how have your respective platforms or services at Microsoft and Workday been impacted by the accelerated growth in the remote work and online collaboration space?
All right, I'll start with this one. We have really spent a lot of time looking at the Workday platform, and thinking about all of the experiences that our employees are going through right now and how we can best support that. And so whether that is creating customized journeys for them so that when they log into Workday, they have their journeys mapped out for them based on their level or their location. We've had COVID journeys so that they know how to access all of the programs, the support, whether that is outfitting their home with ergonomic workspace or getting high-speed internet, or taking advantage of employee assistance programs that they may need to leverage. We've also launched thinking about work in a different way. We've launched our gig work. And so we have gigs throughout the company now that people can sign up for that are all there as well. And those are customized to people's profiles. So that's the Workday platform. Alvaro, how is Microsoft thinking about this?
Well, we're being a little bit busy on that front too. So let me talk a little bit about on the cloud side, what's going on. We have this platform called Microsoft 365 that is kind of the backbone of what we use for collaboration, and we double down on Microsoft Teams as the hub that we created for people to be able to meet, chat, collaborate, create, and also learn. And to give you an idea, we really tested, I think that the pandemic made us better to test not only the technology, the philosophy, and the commitment of the company to provide, to be that provider, to be that platform that you can rely upon to drive the outcomes that you need and have the experiences that you need for your people. We scaled to a point that, just to give you an idea, we support daily 50 billion minutes of collaboration in the platform. Right? That's people having virtual meetings, chat, documents, interactions, emails, everything, 50 billion a day. And on the security front, because I mean, you need to do all that, but also, be sure that you have the security, you have the reliability, all the problems that you might have with cybersecurity that, open up when everyone is remote. We are processing 6.5 trillion security signals a day. We inform protection and measures that we need to take on the platform to be sure that we can offer the level of security and uptime that our customers require. So it's been a massive undertake. We're grateful for the trust that people have given on the services side. The next element has been the continuous innovation on the platform, because all these conversations around how those people interact, how do you create more engagement, how do you reduce the digital fatigue, has come with the creation of a new platform on top of Teams that we just launched called Microsoft Viva, that is actually based on customer feedback on, hey, I need to have this new digital culture. How do I communicate with my employees? How do I keep them up to speed with their learning and readiness? How do I enable the digital culture on team collaboration? So and also on the wellness side, right? How do you also allow people to self-regulate, to look at your own behaviors? Are you having enough focus time? Are you taking your breaks? How many hours? Who are you connecting with? And informing leaders on what's going on in the organizations with the privacy and security taken into consideration. So you as a leader also can take measures depending on what impact are you creating in your team, because being everyone remote, it's way harder for you to assess the workloads and how the rhythm of the work that is being accelerated is impacting your team. So we're working in all those fronts at the individual, the team, and the platform in order to enable the opportunities and challenges that the pandemic has created.
Yeah, that's great. I know one thing outside of our individual platforms is, we've provided lots of different tools, things like Jamboard or Miro, right? Where very specific tools that employees need to use for situations. But also thinking about how do we reduce fatigue and create shared fluency with a core place that people can go, right? Employees understand everything that's at their disposal when they need it. And I think that is still an ongoing challenge that we will have moving forward with the velocity of work increasing, and then thinking about some folks going back into offices.
I think so. And actually, let me go to the next question that is connected to that, with your permission. Let me read it here. Once folks start to go back to work in the office, what steps do you think companies can take to truly embrace a hybrid workplace where those still working remotely are not left out of the loop?
Yes, I think this will be a challenge. I know for us, we are we're staying very close to our employees, right? Constant pulse checks with employees, and that will continue as we open our offices. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I think enabling our people leaders will be critical to success here, helping leaders really understand the best way to support their teams to come back to the office where they want to, or stay remote because that's what they're feeling comfortable with right now from a safety perspective. And so how can we empower the people leaders to think about the most important moments for their teams where they need to create neutral collaboration? What are the tools and the technologies that we've put in place that enable that, so that all employees feel like they're having an equal and inclusive experience, regardless if they're in the office or not. And leaders also being clear that the face time does not equal performance. I think we've all shown in the last year that we are capable of doing our jobs without being face-to-face with our boss or the rest of our colleagues. And I think that's just something that mentally our leaders are going to have to continue to focus on.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on. The way I'll frame it is, I think there will be three big conversations that will happen. The most difficult one is, what is the digital culture of the company? To your point, I mean, which is what is the employee experience that we want to guarantee? What are the guiding principles that will be unique to every company? And again, every leadership team will need to be going through that dilemma and find their own path forward and learn and iterate as quickly as they can, because it will be a learning process for sure. I think that's a responsibility in the technology industry to keep innovating and working to be sure that we can make those digital culture aspirations and directions true and possible in a secure, in a humane, and a reliable way, so they can be successful in their journey, digital transformation and work that they have to perform. And I think there's a whole discussion around the physical environments and how do you make them more conductive to support being enabled by technology, but also support the digital culture. And there will be no one size fits all. I think there will, now more than ever, the inclusive culture and the digital culture that the companies are going to embrace are going to dictate who those people will choose to work for. Now more than ever. I think you made a point on attrition and people choosing companies depending on that philosophy that will be more relevant than ever. It will be super strategic for talent retention and future in ways that we haven't seen before. I think that's part of the agenda ahead.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think there are still some companies out there that aren't clear in their direction. And I think to really support employees, that will be one critical piece for companies, is to get very, very clear on what that culture looks like in this new model, and employees feel clear on how they can be successful in that model.
Absolutely. And I think that we have time for one more, maybe two, depending on the case. And I think that the question 3, it has 2 parts. One part is, how do we prepare for the next crisis? What can we do to prepare for the next crisis? And the other one is how what we learned during the COVID pandemic influence how we will deal with situations in the workplace when we're back to the offices.
Yeah, preparing for the next crisis. This is an interesting one. We with all of the natural disasters that we've had in the US here recently, it's been a topic of conversation, right? Whether it's the fires, whether it's the storm that went through Texas. You know, one thing that we have been thinking about is with these smaller office environments, we can ensure employees that they're going to have heat and power and food available, reliable internet. And so I do think that is actually going to be a really critical piece for companies to think about how they can really support employees if there are these ongoing natural disasters, right? Do you have a block of hotel rooms that employees can call at any minute if there's an emergency? How do we think about opening up our offices, especially like a common spaces, to our communities? Because I do think companies like Microsoft, like Workday, that have these huge presence in their communities have a responsibility to support their communities through this. Outside of the natural disasters, I think the one critical thing that has come up through COVID is we have to work quickly, even not knowing how long potentially that situation might go on for. I think when we originally got into COVID, people were thinking in terms of weeks and months and not a year. And clearly we need to plan for the long term, even if it ends up not going on long term. But how can we put the right mechanisms and framework in place to support employees regardless of the length of the crisis?
Yeah, look, I think those are fascinating questions to build on your comments. For me, I think one of the key learnings that we have through this pandemic is how resilient we can be as humans, as a society, and how important it is to enable our people to be able to support that agency in a holistic way. And again, not only on the work side, but also personally and in the community. Yeah. And now more than ever, I think that sense of social responsibility and human responsibility has to be a more solid part of the charter of every company in the world, right? And wherever you are, if you have employees and you're part of a community, you need to be engaged, you need to be a positive force. And I think that all the digital transformation and all the work and changes that we have seen through COVID are going to make us better and better prepared for what we don't know might happen in the future, because if we knew the questions, it will be easy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a great lesson on what to focus on and how by using that guiding principle of enabling your people and supporting your community, you will see it through in a much better way. I think that technology is going to get better. We will be less and less part of the problem and more part of the solution. But also we have a higher level of responsibility because there will be more and more reliance on our work and the product of our infrastructure. We will become as critical as core electricity for some work, right? So think about like a basic service. If you don't have internet connection, if you don't have a collaboration platform, if you don't have the processing capability, all this will not be possible. So how do we think of ourselves as part of that, like digital first responders to any future crisis and act accordingly? And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that we got from the COVID days as an industry and as a community in IT.
Yeah, I agree. Can I throw this last question to you? Because I think it very much relates to the work that you've been doing. Sure. How do you see governance for this new virtual environment?
Well, I think governance is an extremely interesting topic, right? I think some governance are timeless. It's about decision making. It's around how do you segregate roles and responsibilities, and how do you have the right check and balances for your organization. And that needs to be, again, agnostic of time and place. You got to be sure that you get evolving it based on your business mission and your strategy in the marketplace and in the society. I think when we go into more concretely what's going to happen now, I think that we in the technology industry will need to rethink and change our old paradigms on how do we enable a higher level of governance that has no dependency of place, that is fully digital, and where decisions and actions need to be happening much faster. And again, those three driving forces are the ones that need to help us. So how do you use the security and trust as a core part of the offerings that we have. How can we use AI and automation to augment the human capacity for those decisions that govern and that work that can be done only by humans, but then facilitated and enabled by the technology?
Yeah.
And at the end, how do we make a difference? And we make the individual and the teams the center of the productivity force that will change. And I think that's the lesson from COVID, that we will need to keep working there.
Yeah.
Right? And we will keep innovating technology-wise, and there will be more features and automation, and how do you manage security and levels and all the fun stuff based on, conditional access and your identity, and all those things that we do today will get better. But the principles are the ones that I think are more important, because things will keep evolving and changing as we are part of the industry, right? I mean, that's what we do. We change things for better.
Yes. Ideally, that is our focus. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation today. I've really appreciated it and enjoyed it. And thank you to the High Tech family for having me today.
Hey, Vanessa, you've been a delightful partner on this conversation. Thank you so much for making the time to being with us. Welcome to the High Tech Familia. And, we're excited to partner with you on the WorkDeck team. And for everyone that attended our fireside chat, thank you for the engagement. Thank you for your feedback. Hope you have a great conference. I'm looking forward to keep interacting with you, and hopefully in person as well in the near future. Bye, familia.
Sure. Bye.
Stretch your legs, but don't go too far. Enjoy some entertainment before our next session.